What's your Super Bowl pick?
Okay. I really like this Super Bowl match just because it's like Cincinnati. They're like the young fiery team. They got a really good young quarterback. They got young talent everywhere, offensively and defensively. And you got LA that's made up of like guys with established careers. Like they have guys that are bona fide Hall of Famers on their team that might have never gotten an opportunity to even play in the Super Bowl. Coach McVay
you played with
before.
David Edwards, right?
Yeah, I played with Big Dave, Jumping Dave.
Wait, how did he get the name Jumpin' Dave? I gotta know. Jumpin' Dave? He does not seem like a jumper. So how is he Jumpin' Dave?
He used to false start. It's from him false starting in practice. And Sitchy being the trash talker he is, he would scream at the top of his lungs, like, Jumping Dave. And sometimes like Dave wouldn't even jump. It would just be like him like getting more comfortable in his stance. Like they haven't even set the ball yet, to be honest. And he would get that. That's why it was fun messing with Dave on that. But honestly, I'm gonna have to go with LA. And the reason I'm going with LA is because like even if you pay attention to their season, they built their team for a playoff run and a Super Bowl push. They have older players that can definitely still play for sure. Like, obviously. And they had some struggles throughout the year, just figuring out how they can gel. And man, that veteran leadership is real. There's a cool and calmness about it when you got a good vet in there that you can lean on. And they got about 6 or 7 of them. So I'm gonna have to lean with the experience a little more. But what I will say is this: I will not be surprised if Cincinnati wins. I won't be surprised if Cincy wins, but my head is telling me that it's LA.
Right.
Sure.
With that prediction, I'm not betting on this game off of what you just gave me. I'm not betting on the game anyway, but off of that, there's no chance. I agree. Tough, I mean, it's going to be a good game. That's what you want in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
However, Matty P's a Bills fan, and that Bills Kansas City game was probably the best game I've seen in
that might have
forever.
Yeah, that was one of the best games that I've seen as well.
If that was the Super Bowl,
that also like broke me emotionally. It completely shattered me. Like I still haven't recovered.
Everybody complains about like the overtime rules. I'm like, man, like
that's the way it is.
There's a defense out there, man. I play ball. Like, I play defense. Honestly, I thought Buffalo was going to win.
They should have won.
To be honest.
Why they're rushing 4 with 13 seconds left will never, ever, ever sit right with me.
I didn't like how. My thing was, it's easy to say this in hindsight, but like, I wish they were playing a closer coverage. Like, I wish they were actually getting closer to these receivers instead of like spot dropping and trying to like protect the sidelines. I get it with it being 13 seconds left, but at the same time, they didn't need to score. Like, Kansas City didn't need to score, right?
They need to score a touchdown. They need to just get a field goal.
Yeah, they need to get a field goal. Yeah,
and so also. How are you going to let Kelsey get inside leverage?
Yeah, man, I would have liked to see them, challenging those receivers. Obviously, for sure, keeping some hope over the top, just because we played them in Carolina, and man, they got lightning in the bottle with some of their guys. So you definitely need to have some help over the top. But man, I would trust my defense and challenge these guys at the line of scrimmage. Like I want to make Mahomes scramble a little bit, burn some of that clock up, especially being 13 seconds. Might be able to get a sack or something. Like, I want to challenge these receivers, make him clutch a little bit, make them earn it.
Yeah, should have never brought this up, Nat. Because you get too riled up.
I do. I'm sorry. There are 2 things in the world that get me riled up. It's Wisconsin Badger football and Buffalo Bills football.
Oh man, you probably got a bad place in your heart for my dad, man. Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
You know what?
I think that was one of the 4 falls.
Yeah, it was. It's okay. Like
Chris for the win here. That was awesome.
I'm not gonna begrudge and besmirch the Orr name.
No,
it's all good. It's all. You know what? Like, my
Buffalo,
first memory is like Scott Norwood wide right. Like that's one of my first memories against the Giants. That's the one that really hurt. So
I like Buffalo, man. I like Buffalo a lot. They're like it's always crazy to see, like, especially in the NFL, you see it a lot, all these places and how they just become somewhere 2.0. Like, I think Buffalo is Baltimore and Carolina 2.0.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, half the coaching staff's from Carolina.
Half of them are from Carolina, half of them are from Baltimore. And then especially when you see like the GMs go with them, I want to say Buffalo's GM was like
he was the assistant GM in Carolina.
Or Carolina?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, the head coach and GM came together from Carolina. So.
Yep. So that's what you hope for. That's what you hope for in the league.
The crazy fandom now is like taking over. I actually love the Bills Mafia. Is so funny.
I love Bills Mafia.
They're the best.
People are throwing their bababies through tables, not really throwing them, but like dropping them through like fake card. It's so funny to watch it. It's so interesting and you know it's the best of America, right?
Well, it's a regional pride thing, right? Because when you're in Western New York, right? Like I grew up in Western New York for 10 years. That's all you got.
That's all you got.
Right.
That's all you got. Like the Sabres, like no one cares. Like it's like you know, it's very similar to Packers fandom though, right?
Right.
Because like you know, everyone in Wisconsin lives and breathes the Packers. Everyone in Western New York is like it's Bills or death. Like that's all that there is. So
I love that.
Yeah. You know, it's not like in some of these schools, like, you know, some of these places like the Rams, like, I'm sorry, like people in LA just like don't really care about the NFL that much. I know I lived there for 7 years. Like, you know, it's just not the same.
That's a tough spot to be in LA. And then you got the Chargers there. I always wondered how like teams like split up a city. Cause I'm like, man, like, too much pride, like just flowing through here. Like,
you know what you do? You do what the Jets did, and you just kind of play in Giant Stadium and look like a fool forever.
That's what the Chargers do. They play in the Rams Stadium.
They play in the Rams Stadium, yeah. Wait, who do we have on that was like, who said it was St. Louis?
Oh, it was Sorgi.
That's how old like we are.
Yeah.
We still look at it as St. Louis.
I used to like the Rams when they were in St. Louis. I used to love Steven Jackson.
Oh, dude, he was a beast of a running back.
Yeah, I loved Steven Jackson.
Beast of a running back.
Didn't Marshall Falk play for that team?
Oh, yeah. Greatest show on turf.
When he threw up on himself and then still ran that play, I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Marshall Falk? No, Marshall Falk's from Louisiana. Never mind. I was going to say, he's a Texas boy, too.
If he came from DeSoto, it'd blow my mind. You can't add more people to that list.
No, I'd say our biggest player is definitely Von Miller, because
he could win another one right here.
Yeah, I know, man. Only defensive player to win the MVP of a Super Bowl, like
crazy,
hard to beat.
You just named more NFL studs in your high school than I don't even know, like participation trophies at mine. It's like amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I remember talking to guys up here, like from when we first got here, even to now, and you talk about high school ball, and I'm like, man, like I promise you, we would beat y'all. Like I promise you, we're gonna beat y'all. Like I was like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like I promise we would beat y'all. And I'm like, we lost to. So I'm a part of Kyler Murray's perfect record, right, in high school, and I lost to him every year in the semifinals. And the crazy part is, and I start telling people about his teammates. I'm like, man, it wasn't just like, it wasn't kind of how like. Hopefully my Wisconsin folks don't get mad at me about this, but it wasn't like Wisconsin like high school ball where like take Braylon for example, like you had a guy like Braylon and he was Fond du Lac, like you know what I'm saying. Where Kyler Murray, like yes, he was the face of Allen, but man, they had some great players. Like they had Christian Sam who got drafted by the New England Patriots. They had another backer, I'm forgetting his name. He went on to play at OU. Their offensive lineman, their tackle, Greg Little, was actually my tackle in Carolina. Jalen Guyton, who's a stud wide receiver for the Chargers, was his number one wide receiver. I'm like, man, he played with great players. Like he has teammates in the NFL too. Like, don't get it confused. Like, yes, he's great, but like it was not just him. Like they had great players.
But I mean, he was special.
He was crazy. He was crazy. He had like, the crazy part is like, yes, he was fast and quick and like he could make every throw. But the craziest thing to me was just like, he had that like magic. You know, everybody talks about like Johnny Manziel magic. Like Kyler Murray actually had that magic. And it was just like, I don't know how he did this. Like this should have been a dead play. And somehow man, so many heartbreaks. Every time we lost him was a heartbreak. Like my senior year, we set like a record for like high school attendance. I want to say it was like almost 70,000 people in like Cowboy Stadium. And like we lost by, this is how we lost. He threw a fade ball to Jalen Guyton, and our corner was in good position. Our safety was running over, and they kind of like hit each other in the air and like popped the ball up. And Jalen Guyton catches it and falls. And then they hurry up, run up, and sprint to the sideline. They had like no timeouts left. They run like one play and then sprint to the sideline and hurry up and run their field goal unit on and kick a field goal as time expires and win by 1. And that's how my senior career ended. And I'm like, man, like, what is going on? Like, he's not supposed to have that. My junior year, which was my brother's senior year, like, he's about to get sacked and throws up the ball into a corner. Somehow they have a receiver there. It's like 20 seconds into the play, and he finds him, and for a 2-point conversion, they beat us by 2. And it's like, like, of course he found this guy. But even before that, the only way they got the ball back, we made a stop. They got the ball back by a horrible punt. Their punter kicked the ball like straight in the air, and it hit one of our guys, and they recovered it. I'm like, this is like, nothing is just not even like, oh, like this isn't going our way. Like, this isn't even just like normal football. It's not like, oh, somebody beat them and like this was a good punt and we muffed it. Like, that would be normal football. Like, this went directly into the sky and hit one of our like defensive linemen. It sucked.
Oh, that's brutal.